Hello, welcome everyone to the Author Spotlight. Hey, you know who it is. It's the host with the most. It's your man, Darren M. Palmer. I'm so excited to be here with Suzanne Hobbs. Suzanne Hobbs is an extraordinary woman. I'm going to go in detail about her bio a little bit, and then I'm going to pass it on to her. But before we move forward, I just want you to know that the reason we have the Author Spotlight, this is behind the scenes. Just like you're in a coffee shop, you're able to have the authors not on stage doing a keynote speech and everybody's clawing at them trying to get an autograph and the event planner trying to get them to the back. The key to this is for you to be able to learn and glean lessons, extract from their stories of how you can apply it in your own life, whether it be you writing a book and going back getting a GED, if it's starting a nonprofit, if you're a pastor of a church. It doesn't matter who you are. We all have a story, and we talk to planet shakers. We talk to change agents, just like Suzanne, who are able to give us nuggets of value that allow for us to reach our full potential. So I'm going to share a little bit about Ms. Hobbs. Suzanne Hobbs is a writer, public speaker, small business owner, and communication expert. But her favorite title is Mom. She worked for nearly 14 years in Idaho as a news anchor and court and crime reporter for both NBC and CBS affiliate stations. One news story she reported on made a big impact. The body of a newborn was found in an alley dumpster. A teenage girl delivered the baby and threw it away. Suzanne began to advocate for a safe haven law in Idaho, so no babies are ever discarded, but can instead be handed over without fear of prosecution to safe haven locations like fire stations and hospitals. I shared a little bit of Suzanne's story and how she came to be an advocate and all the major moves that she's making and all the babies and just lives she's saving, period. So Suzanne, I shared a little bit about your bio, but could you fill in any of the gaps and share in your own words what you shared with me a little bit before we even did the show about how you came to be an advocate and a little bit behind that day you were called to come out and check out the story about the baby in the dumpster?
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you for having me on Author Spotlight. I appreciate that. About 14 years ago, when I was working as a news reporter in Idaho, I got a tip from a police officer, and he said, "Hey, there's a baby found dead in a dumpster down in this alley. You and your photographer need to get over here." And at the time, I had been married for about 7 years, and my husband and I realized we could not have children. And we were considering at that time that we needed to look at adoption. I show up there with my photographer. The police are putting crime scene tape over the alley to keep us away. A man from the funeral home pulls out a body of a baby wrapped in a towel. And I just remember standing there just thinking, how could this happen? How could someone feel so desperate or to deliver a baby and to throw it away like trash? And I would have taken that baby. And so many other people listening and watching this would say the same thing. I would have taken that baby. You don't need to throw a baby away. And it became my mission to make that change in the state. I found out from a television interview with that girl's father. It ended up being an 18-year-old girl who hid her pregnancy from her father and her brother that she lived with. She wore big sweatshirts and hid the pregnancy and then delivered. But he said, "Hey, Idaho doesn't have a law. It's called a safe haven law, but it's in about 27 other states." And I said, "I know a state senator." So I called up Senator Bart Davis, who was my neighbor.
Wow.
And I said, "We need to get this law in Idaho." It passed with flying colors through the House and the Senate, and within just a few months became a law in Idaho. Since then, now about 15, 16 years later, nearly 30 babies have been safely surrendered under that safe haven law because people know about it. Yes, it's wonderful. A really cool part of this story is about 2 years later, I ended up adopting with my husband a little girl who was a safe haven baby. And this is her now, 14 years later. So her birth mother, Lily's birth mom, knew about the law, knew in Idaho about the safe haven law, and handed off her baby to the hospital and walked away. No prosecution because she used the safe haven law. That's what's important is people need to understand you cannot leave a newborn baby on a doorstep or at a place that's not a designated safe haven location. Every hospital in the United States, in all 50 states, this law is there. But the governor in Idaho handed me the pen when he signed it into law and just thanked me for helping initiate this law. But the biggest key right now is awareness. We still have babies left in toilets and garbages and on the side of the road. This is nearly like an epidemic. It is still happening, and it never needs to happen ever again. No mother needs to feel so desperate as to put her baby in a dumpster or anywhere. Hand the baby off to a safe haven place, turn around and walk away. That's it. You don't need to fear prosecution. So that's my big mission now is I'm thankful to be a mom, but I'm also trying to talk about that law and make the change.
Also, and you know what, speaking of that, I'm thinking about your story. And when I hear of the wonderful things that you've done, your time being on TV, encouraging people, saving lives, literally saving lives by what you're doing. How did you become an author? Like, could you share a little bit how you became an author and why this book, out of all the background that you had as being class president, all the things that you were able to accomplish, why did you come out with The Hungry Snake?
Okay. Well, and I feel like I have many other stories and books that I'm going to work on, and I still have my second book from this, but I came out with The Hungry Snake because it was a bedtime story that I told to my daughter. And one night when she was probably about 2 years old, she was fussing, and I just said, okay, let me tell you a story. And she and I are very creative. So I just came up with this story about a little snake, and he didn't know what to eat. And so he was hungry, and he tries hay, and he tries corn, and he tries honey from a bear. So it's just it's a cute little book, but it's for very young children. But I made up the story at bedtime one night, and word for word, what's in this book is what I said that first night. Wow. But it's a story that became her favorite. So she would say, Mom, tell me the story of the hungry snake. And so I would tell it again and again and again. And so it nudged me, like everybody has something where they're kind of like, I know I need to do this. And it was really bothering me that I didn't, I needed to make it into a book. I just didn't know how. And you have to surround yourself with good people that know how, right? And you kind of learn the first time around. But I finally just said about 2 years ago, I'm going to make this into a book. So I found a publishing company that wanted to work with me out of New York. And it took a long time there's a lot of work to figure out where to put the cat and how to make the rooster's face and where to put the snake and, the fonts and everything. There's a lot to it, but it became a bestseller actually 5 days before it was really released out to the world. It actually became the #1 hot new release in 3 categories on Amazon. And I'm very thankful for the excitement. But the reason why I did this book is I also promoted it because the proceeds from the sale of this book are going to go to help me promote the safe haven law, to help me travel, to help me go to cities, to help me bring awareness of the law in any way I possibly can. So that's what this book has done, and the response has been huge. But kids also love the book. So when I go travel and I speak at schools and I do assemblies, and kids will come walking in and they'll see me and they'll see the book up on the screen and they're like, I have that book at my house. And another kid will come by and be like, I have that book. You wrote that? Is that you? And I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Kids know about this book. So it's very rewarding that it's now going to hopefully become like a classic and a memorable book for so many families. But it's also helping promote the law, because also on the back and on the inside, we also talk about the safe haven law. So this is an educational tool as well. And then I came out with it in Spanish about 6 months ago because I was in Honduras. And my book had come out, and there were some children there that didn't really know English very well. So I said, got to come out with it in Spanish. And that was a challenge, but we got it done. So I now have it in English and Spanish.
And speaking of that, and this is for the audience. Here it is. Suzanne is reading to her daughter with a bedtime story, and look at the execution. She hadn't written a book before. So she went from a story time, sharing a story at night, good night, kisses, hugs, mama loves you, to now we have a book that's being shared around the world and giving her an opportunity to fund her to move forward, to share this wonderful message of saving lives across the globe. Now think about this. How does that apply in your personal life? For a lot of you who are watching this show, you have dreams and hopes of being an author. And Suzanne did it. And this is a perfect segue, Suzanne. So if you don't mind me asking, it's one thing to come up with the story at night. What made you believe that you could even write the story and do it? Even though it was a kid's book, you're a mom, your wife, you got responsibilities, you got a career, you're involved in your community. So what made you could believe that you could even write the book at that time?
There was just a nudging. There really was a nagging for many years. And I had a meeting with some really great ladies, and we all, like how you get together and you just say, okay, what's on your bucket list? And this was at the very top of my bucket list, that I wanted to write a book, and I wanted to write this book. And then I wanted to do more public speaking, and I wanted to advocate for Safe Haven. And it all just worked together. It made sense that this book would become an avenue for me. So when I do go on TV shows and I talk about the Hungry Snake book and that it's a best-selling book, I can then segue into, but the whole purpose is for Safe Haven. And so it just clicked. And I think some really good advice that I would say is, if there's something nudging you and nagging at you, you got to do it. You know, you have to go after that. You have to get uncomfortable. And this was it's not easy, as many of you know. It is a big job to do a book, but it's doable. And you just have to ask people questions. But for me, it was so much about I'm so thankful that I'm a mom. I'm so thankful that Lily came into my life. And so this is my way to just help other people become parents and moms and save these babies. And why not?
Awesome. You know, speaking of that, we know your work ethic. We know that you get stuff done. So could you share with the audience, what are some hacks? How did you find a way to be so productive to get the book done? Was it getting up earlier in the morning? Was it staying up late? I mean, give us some hacks into how you were able to accomplish.
I'll show you. It's my to-do list, right? I have them here. I have, this is how I survive, is I make a to-do list every single day, or at the end of the night, I make a to-do list of everything that is the most pressing. And it is so great to be able to cross off, right? So this is things that I was working on yesterday. And when you can cross off things and feel like you're accomplishing it, but it's like chopping down a tree. You can't do it all in a day. So just make your priority list of, what can I accomplish today? What can I accomplish in this hour? And yes, there's days that I just wanted to cry because there was just too much. But then you find other people who have done it before and you say, how did you do it? And I learned from them. And so now I have people reaching out to me saying, hey, can you give me an idea? What do I do? So it's very rewarding, and it is worth some of the stress. But that's my best advice is, I didn't really get up earlier. I stayed up late, and sometimes the dishes didn't get done. And sometimes Lily watched a little bit more TV while I was trying to do a few things, right? While I was training and learning. And there were actually weeks and almost maybe even months that I didn't get back with the publisher because I just said, I can't decide right now what to do. I'm not quite sure about the cover, so give me some time. And do it in your own pace. Do it when it feels right. And so I sometimes so what, about 9-10 months ago. So it came out actually like October 27th. It was supposed to come out November 2nd, and it went crazy. What's so cool is it actually beat out J.K. Rowling and R.L. Stine in a couple categories.
Wow.
I know, it beat them out. So I have a screenshot of mine is number 1, J.K. Rowling, and then R.L. Stine in like a category on Amazon. I was like, that's pretty cool, for a few days. So it's very rewarding, even if just one child says, I love your book. That's neat that I'm making an impact on kids and saying that my book's being read at bedtime. So go for it. If you have a story, long or short, go for it.
And something else on this, what about, you have so many accolades, so many things that you've done. Could you share with the audience on how creating the book has changed your life, whether it be the impact of your daughter knowing that you're an author, whether it be the lives and the way that you're able to be funded to be able to move forward and share the message across the globe? But could you share some of the things that has improved your life by you being an author and creating the book?
Myself and in doing that, but it's sometimes you kind of feel like I can really say I'm a best-selling author. I really can say that, absolutely. To have the little Amazon best-selling logo on my book, and I'm excited. I'm going back to Honduras in November, and I'm going to give some of those little girls that sell the bracelets on the streets that I met a year ago. I'm going to give them copies of the book in Spanish because I really couldn't give it to them in English as much. But they're going to enjoy this. And I've actually read to a school that most of them knew English. So I read to a school there. So I'm going to go back to Honduras and donate books. That makes me feel good to be able to impact children that maybe would really enjoy having this book. But, the biggest thing is, the book is great, but again, it's the tool to promote that law. And I have so much more promotion that I want to do and that I get to do to make sure that people understand about the safe haven law. That's huge. That's my mission, along with running a small, businesses and, doing so many other things. And I'm going to come out with book number 2 related to the hungry snake, and book number 3. And I'm motivated now to do more books.
Awesome. And could you share a little bit about where our audience can find out more about you if they want to get the book, or if they want to have you come in as a keynote, or if they want you to share for their association? Could you share some of that information with us, Suzanne?
Absolutely. Thank you. I have a website, real easy. My name is Suzanne Hobbs. And so that's my website, SuzanneHobbs.com. And you could just also go to my website, thehungrysnake.com. But the book is available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. And but I'd be happy to speak to anybody at any time about the safe haven law, or about being an author or anything. But that's how you can find me. I'm just out there on social media everywhere, Suzanne Hobbs 365 as well.
Okay, and thank you for sharing that information. And because there's a lot of people who watch this show, and you have to get Suzanne to come in. I mean, whatever you have to do. Some of us are motivational. Some of us are inspirational. But she is literally saving lives. When I read and went on her Instagram and saw the things that she was doing, I was thinking to myself, oh my goodness. I mean, this is an epidemic that's going on that a lot of people aren't even aware of. You might see it on a Lifetime movie. You might hear it you might be in an airport and you're reading the USA Today or something, and you might see a little thing, but it's blocked out. But when I seen it, I said, you know what? I have to have her come onto the show. Not only is she an author, this is why we have the author spotlight, to go behind the scenes, because this is a woman who's more than just an author. This is just one hat that she wears, but she is making a difference and making an impact. And so what can we do as a community, as just people with a heart, to say, you know what, we're going to stand up. We're going to make sure that no child, so to speak, is left behind. We want to make sure that we are vigilant and we are aware of our surroundings. And if it's that teenage girl, if it's somebody, who might have had an affair, whatever the situation is, the key to it is saving a life. We're not here to be judgmental.
Right.
Suzanne is not here to be judgmental. The safe haven law is not here to be judgmental. All we're saying is, if you need help, you have someone who understands. Give somebody else an opportunity to take the child and give the child a safe place to be able to have the opportunity, like we were given an opportunity, to be able to have a thing that's so precious, called life. That's why we're having this here. This is why she's a change agent. This is why the book is great. All of that's wonderful, but this is just another tool in her toolbox and her tool belt to be able to use to expose us and to give us a sense of awareness to know, hey, we can do something about this. We can contribute. We can help. So I want each and every one of you to make sure that you go on Amazon, go to her website, do whatever you can to help. So you say, well, I don't have time, Darren. I'm busy. My kids are doing this. You know what? I got to work 16 hours. I'm on flights all the time. I don't have time to do this, but you at least can make a monetary donation. You at least can link to somebody. You don't have to turn a blind eye to that. You don't have to look like you don't see what's going on. So this is why we're bringing the awareness to this. And Suzanne, why I have you here, I want you to share with the audience, because some people know, but some don't know about you. Could you share a little bit about your experience with being on Oprah and Absolutely. How you got that call and how did that work out?
Okay, yeah, you bet. Also, you can go to the nationalsafehavenalliance.org and donate through that organization. There are dozens of amazing volunteers across the country who are working to promote this law, and I need to at least recognize them. It's not just me doing this at all. I'm the communications director for the National Safe Haven Alliance, but there are many people. We were just in Washington, D.C. 2 weeks ago trying to work on with some big people to get some great advocacy. with some national organizations. So donations are absolutely greatly needed for that organization. But when I was a news reporter and had just adopted Lily when she was 1 year old, I was pretty excited about that I became a mom and I could legally talk about it. For the first year, we were just her foster parents. And then an article was written in the newspaper, front page article about Lily's adoption. So I sent that article to two people, Oprah Winfrey and Katie Couric, who was the host of the Today Show at the time. It took 1.5 years before I heard anything. And then one day I get a phone call from the Oprah Winfrey Show producers, and they said, we need a couple pictures of you and your daughter, and do you think you could fly out here on Tuesday? And that was like Friday, or maybe it was quick. It was like within days. And they had me fly out to Chicago, and they were doing a show. And so you could Google Suzanne Hobbs on Oprah. It's also on my website at SuzanneHobbs.com, but you can see the little 4-minute clip. But in 2006, I went to Chicago and was on the show, and they were doing a whole show about the safe haven law. They interviewed a teenage girl who had hid her pregnancy, and her boyfriend would stand on her stomach and push it in, and then she delivered the baby in her bedroom. She and her boyfriend killed the baby, put it in a shoebox, and then went and had dinner with the family. Crazy. So she was speaking from prison saying, I was young, I didn't know, and I now want to promote the safe haven law. So she changed, but very sad way for that baby to have had its life end, and very heartless for her and her boyfriend. So that was the focus of the show, but they wanted to have a happy story at the end of the show. And so I was able to be a guest and talk about Lily's adoption. And that was neat to have Oprah thank me for what I did in front of millions of people. So that's a clip that I use when I do public speaking, and it makes a lot of people cry. It's pretty neat.
Great. And please, I'm begging of you, listen to Suzanne. Did you hear how sad that was? Not only did that not only was a child lost, but just think of those two teenagers. They went out to eat with family and loved ones, friends and loved ones. They had people in their lives that cared for them. So it wasn't just the death of the child, the unborn child, so to speak. They lost their lives as well. Think about the trickle down effect on the parents. I'm a parent. I would hate to know that my kids who I've raised are struggling with something like that, but they're so afraid of me. They're so afraid of what society is going to say, what their peers are going to say at school, and what others are going to say, that they had to take a life. That's the only thing they could come up with. That was the only solution they could come up with. So I don't want to feel like that I'm being preachy on this show, but there's a need. There's a need, and it has to start with us. And so I want to do my part. That's why I brought Suzanne on here, because I want to do all I can to bring awareness to this, because it's not just the unborn children or the kids or the babies that's losing out. And God forbid, we know we don't want to lose them as well, but it's communities that are affected. These kids, a lot of times, they are a part of their community. They're in school. They're a part of the gyms. I know certain issues for colleges. There's people that I know who dealt with this same situation, that they were on the dean list. But with all the intelligence that they had, for what we like to say, excuse my southern vernacular, they got book sense, but didn't have any common sense, so to speak. They're crying out, but no one's there to let them know that there is a safe haven and they can find out more. But could you share something, Ms. Hobbs, and share with that person out there who's faced with a tough situation, or they want to write the book, but they saying, you know what, I'm not as talented as her. She's so smart. She's beautiful. She has this going on. She's a wonderful mom. That you weren't born with a platinum spoon in your mouth, so to speak. Yeah. But for those who are watching your accomplishments, and you stated a little bit about that earlier, about being goal-oriented and the to-do list and checking stuff off and getting stuff done to be productive. Could you share with that person who's straddling the fence and they know they need to write a book or share their story with the world, but they feel like, you know what, I'm not Dr. Phil, I'm not Oprah, I'm not Warren Buffett, who will want to hear my story? Could you share with them and give them some words of encouragement, why it's important that everybody has a story and they need to share it?
Absolutely. You can't judge yourself. You have to know that there are people out there that want to hear your story. And for me, it began with just jotting down my goals. You have to kind of have what are your goals in your life, right? Is that bucket list type of a thing. You have to at least say, this is what I'm going to do. And I always say, life begins at the end of your comfort zone. You have to get uncomfortable to do things that you want to do. Life is not meant to be easy. We grow from everything we go through. So for me, it wasn't easy, but I now can take a little breath and go, okay, that part's done. Next, right? What's the next thing? But if you're wanting to write a book, write it. And you can find publishing companies that will work with you and partner with you. They may not write you a check. You have to self-publish. You have to pay them to do that. That's what I did. I went through Page Publishing, and they're out of New York, and I had to pay them, but I broke it down into monthly payments. And it was well worth it to have someone help me do it. So if that's an avenue, you may not find a big publishing company that's going to write you a big check for you to write books. Sometimes that's even more stressful, I hear. So publish the book. You can also totally self-publish through Ingram Spark and companies like that. So however you want to do it, just start writing, put it down. If you need an illustrator, or it's just the words, but there are ways that you can be coached all the way through to publishing the book. Get it done. Do it.
Thank you, Suzanne. And that's one of the things that we do here at Self-Publishing 30 Days. We work with people step by step to help them get that done. I went through the process of myself, actually just being a speaker and moving forward. And then I started finding out more and more people would ask me, I love your book, I love your books, but I got a story to share. So as a coach and a mentor of mine told me, Darren, if somebody asks you something 3 times, create a product. And so I listened to that, and that's how we created Self-Publishing 30 Days. And this is why we have the shows, the spinoff of this, just to give you a different mindset of what it is to be an author and behind the scenes. But we definitely love to help people as well as far as getting their books done. But like you said, if it's not us, I don't care who you use. If you go do it yourself, if you go to Kinko's, if you use some of the resources that Ms. Hobbs shared, get it done, whether it's traditional, because some people are caught up on, well, I don't know if I want to self-publish, if I don't know if I want to go the traditional route. And so they use that as, they're saying they're a perfectionist, but I like to call it with my clients, the other P word, being a procrastinator. So it's just according to how you want to use it. It's like D and the. It's according to how you want to use it, but share your story with the world. Okay. Ms. Hobbs, I want to thank you so much for coming on and encouraging us today with your story. You're doing a wonderful job. Keep doing the things that you're doing. You're doing a wonderful job with that beautiful young lady that you have over there that you're blessed to be raising. I look forward to see what she will be doing in the future, what she's doing currently, and what she will do in the future. By having a mom, by having a role model, an example like you, it's no telling what she will do, being able to run off your shoulders and go and reach her full potential as well. So do you have any last words for the people today before we close out this interview of the Author Spotlight?
Just real quick, that if you, here, this is the logo for this National Safe Haven Alliance. If you see this sign, this is where you can hand off your baby. And I just say, it's a quick conversation at the dinner table, or when you're out with your girlfriends, or at Thanksgiving dinner, when you're you don't know who's hiding their pregnancy. You don't know who is scared. So now that you all have been taught about the Safe Haven law, then you get to share that with other people. It's in all 50 states. If you don't want your newborn baby, take it to a safe haven place. There's a map of all 50 states on the nationalsafehavenalliance.org website. Learn about the law for your state. It's a 2-minute conversation, and you don't know who is hiding their pregnancy and is scared. And you might be able to help save some baby's life and a young mother's life as well. So thank you to everyone for helping share that.
All right. Thank you so much, Suzanne. Once again, this is Darren, and I'm so excited about this show. I mean, she delivered. I told you that she was going to bring it. Ms. Hobbs, you did a wonderful job. Like I said, I'm taking the information down. I will make sure that they are in the show notes when we produce and get this show out to everyone. But once again, we want to thank Suzanne Hobbs for coming on. Suzanne needs our help. She can't do this all by herself. No matter, we know that she's Wonder Woman, but she needs an A-team behind her. She needs some help. So like you said, it could be just a night out where you're going to an art show. It could be movie night. Big fellas, it could be doing the football game. You know, a lot of games coming on this weekend, or if it's Sunday and you're chilling or whatever it may be. For those who are part of the country clubs or, your Better Business Bureaus, it doesn't matter, your chamber. make sure that we bring awareness to this issue. And people are always looking for something to fund or to help or to expose, and make sure that we make a difference. I can't think of anything else greater or need is greater than us bringing awareness and making sure people know about safe havens and letting lives be saved. So thank you again, Suzanne. This is another edition of the Author Spotlight. I'm so excited about this. This is Darren M. Palmer. Make sure if you want to find out more information about the show or about us, go to self-publish, the letter N, 30 days. Me and my staff, we would love to help encourage you and help you share your story with the world. The main thing that we want you to know that this is the year for your new book, whether it's with us, whether it's with somebody else, or if you just got to go write it, print it out, just put it online, whatever you have to do, change lives by sharing your story with the world. Thank you so much again, Suzanne, and I look forward to connecting with you and working with you again soon.
Hi, thank you.